Hi, I'm Ria, and welcome to Sports with Ria. Welcome back to Sports with Ria, where we tell the story of athletes to inspire all of you who are listening and watching to pursue your dreams. This episode is about storytelling. Now, I am an avid reader. I love stories. I love reading. I'm currently a part of a book club, which is a lot of fun. We read a lot of different genres and different stories and things that I would not have considered. So it's really great to read about new things. Again, I have my own personal interests, but reading sci-fi stories, reading mysteries and dramas is a lot of fun. So I have been reading since I was younger. My parents introduced me to books, and one of my favorite books was the Bernstein Bears. Mama Bear, Papa Bear, Sister Bear, Brother Bear. I loved Bernstein Bears. I had every single book that was released. I would beg my mom, please, can we get a new copy? And she did. So I grew up reading that. And I also loved nursery rhymes. And thinking back, now that I'm older, kind of like morbid, but still fun and good. So I wanted to talk about the intersection between sports and storytelling. Now, stories are impactful. A lot of people are able to connect with each other because they tell stories. You can often see yourself in the story when someone is sharing about their history, their life, their experiences. It allows you to see them in a different light. And I love stories, and I love how stories are woven into sports, and how when you think of great matchups, especially on game days, how they have the headlines, different stories to build anticipation for fans and people who are waiting for this matchup on game day. And so some of the headlines that we've read over the years really fuels the passion and interest for that big event. And one of my favorite headlines or stories was when the Seahawks won their first Super Bowl, Super Bowl 48. It was an amazing game. I'm not sure fans across the country were as invested as us Seahawks fans were. But I remember some of the headlines that came out. It was the number one offense against the number one defense. Manning, high-powered offense. No one's going to be able to stop them. They're going to be able to throw all over the field. They're not going to be able to cover all of the receivers, like the tight ends, the running backs, all of that.
I think it's going to be a close game because these two teams, the matchup I look at is Peyton Manning having a great year, his offense, number one offense in the league, number one defense in Seattle. They're very aggressive at the line of scrimmage. That's the matchup I think is going to be key. I like Denver. I like Denver because they have more experience, got more guys that have played in that game. Seattle's whole team, no one's played in the game and it's all the first time. But I think it's going to be a close game.
So everybody in America right now, wait to see who you're taking in this one, Coach.
Well, first of all, I haven't gotten my trophy from the regular season for my picks, but this one was as tough a one as we had all year long. And I looked at it and I said, I just don't think Seattle can score with Peyton Manning. And one other key element that we haven't talked a lot about, no Sean Marino. Peyton Manning will audible. They'll run the football. That'll be a big part of their offense here tonight.
And so I think we definitely proved them wrong. And I just remember going in as Seahawks fans knowing that our defense was one of the best in history and them showing up big time. Y'all remember the score, 43-8? Anyways, so those headlines were in the paper. I think it fueled the Seahawks team. And let them tell it, I remember them saying that they didn't really pay too much attention because they had been prepared the whole season for that moment.
We don't vary or disguise coverage or anybody. We play a pretty simple defense. For the most part, you know what we're going to do every play, and you got to line up and play it. And I think that's how we've been all season. And this is the last game of the season. There's no time to change it now.
Thanks to Pete Carroll, former head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, just what he instilled in his players to, quiet the noise, remember who you are, stick to the game, stick to your assignment, show up, and show up they did, okay? Within the first, 12 seconds, there was that safety score that set the tone.
It's snapped over the head of Peyton Manning. A flag is down and the ball's out of the back of the end zone. It's a safety to start this game.
And then y'all remember Cam Chancellor putting that hit on Wes Welker, okay? That hit cracked him. And I remember when he hit him and everybody was like, ooh, just like, it was crazy. It set the tone and I believed it kind of like, intimidated some of the players. That's just my opinion. Nobody wanted to, go across that field. And if they did, they had to be braced for impact. And so it was such a good Super Bowl again for us, very memorable, but a lot of that had to do with the headlines and the storylines that came out of that. But that was history in the making for us. So I really enjoyed that. Another thing that is really cool that I'm very much interested in is storylines and how they are told through commercials. Commercials are a lot of fun. It's very creative. And when I think about commercials, I think of Nike, who's been telling stories for a long time and doing it at a high level and in excellence. And so one of my favorite commercials, which is the Nike Fate Leave Nothing commercial, just because of how it follows Troy Polamalu and LaDainian Tomlinson as young boys throughout their life, and then they actually collide on the field, and then it cuts back to when they were young boys. And I just like how it gives you all the feels. It's powerful, it's impactful, it just makes you just connect with them. So I wanted you to take a quick look at this commercial. Thank you for tuning in to Sports with Rhea. This was all about storytelling. I would love for you all to follow, subscribe, put into the chat some of your favorite commercials or stories that you have read growing up, and stories that you've heard about athletes. I want to hear about them. I'm inspired by stories, and hopefully you are too. Stay tuned for the next episode, Sports with Rhea.